Hello, good evening. Hello, good evening. Welcome to my Facebook Live. You're welcome to my Facebook Live. I just made up my mind that I need to resume doing one of the things I know best to do, which is talking and helping us as we are on this parenting journey. Uh, Many of us, we have teenagers, we have adolescents. Adolescence starts from the age of 10 to the age of 19. And sometimes they are so emotional. You are welcome, ma. They are so emotional and they show one particular emotion that seems to be common to all. And that emotion is anger. And then we just often wonder, why is it that teenagers are always angry? Some of them are always angry and aggressive. What can be the cause of that? And that's what we want to look at tonight. Ekalema, hello, ma. Yes, ma. So that is what we want to look at tonight. Why anger? Why are many teenagers, why are they angry? How can they be helped? How can they be helped? So that is what we are looking at tonight. Like we've said, anger is an emotion that is common with adolescents, and the age starts from age 10 to 19. And why do we see a lot of angry teenagers? You pick them from school, they look angry, you call them, they look angry, and you are wondering, is this normal? I want to tell you that in a way, you can say it's normal, but it can be helped. You can help a teenager that is constantly in a place of anger. Anger is always classified as a secondary emotion. It's classified as a secondary emotion because it is believed that it stems from other emotions like sadness, like fear, and when all that is together, then it begins to build up and there's a reaction of anger. There are also causes, and we're going to look at what are these things that used to cause anger, continuous anger and aggression in teenagers. What are these things that continually cause anger or aggression in adolescents? And we can see that another thing that can trigger it, let me just say that before I really go deep, is a low self-esteem. Some children, when they have low self-esteem, they come up with a face of anger. That's how they react to everything. And then before we go on, I want to say that if you raise a child with anger, that child will probably only respond with anger. If your response to most of the things is anger, you will notice that your children too will react, because that is the only way they've been taught to react. And there was a time I wrote something about legacy of anger, that some of us parents, we've gone through some issues, or maybe that is how we're brought up as well. We're brought up with anger, and that's the only way we can teach our children. So some children, if you bring up your children with anger, they will respond with anger. We've also talked about low self-esteem. When some children have low self-esteem, they see themselves so little when compared to their peers, they bring up a front of anger. That's how they respond to everything around them. And some children, they've gone through traumatic events. Maybe they've lost someone close to them, death or illness of a loved one, divorce, extreme sibling and peer harassment, can also cause anger for some adolescents if they've gone through some traumatic events, death, illness of someone that is close to them, of a loved one, divorce, when there is extreme harassment from their peers or from their siblings, it can lead to continuous anger. It can lead to continuous anger. Another thing that can lead to continuous anger in adolescents, good evening, ma. Mama Bumi, good evening, ma. God bless you, ma. Is abuse. Some children, when they face abuse, remember from the beginning, we said anger can be classified as a secondary emotion, probably because they've gone through some things, they don't know how best to react, then they show anger. Another thing is abuse. Physical or sexual abuse is another reason for anger and aggressive behavior among teenagers and adolescents. Aggressive behavior can be caused, or anger can be caused from abuse. The reason why we are saying all this is that if you have an angry teenager, if you have your child is constantly angry, or a child in your care, you can check out all this. And if all this is not there, then you know that there's something else to look out for. Abuse makes a child angry, inadequate, and ashamed. And because of this, most of the time when they can't tell anyone, they manifest it in form of aggression or anger. Another reason why some children are always in this angry mood is because they have mental health issues. This is the part that a lot of people don't like talking about, but it exists. There are some children that are bipolar, some have panic disorder, there's schizophrenia, depression, post-traumatic disorder, PTSD, and other form of mental health issues. And because of that, because they've not been evaluated, they've not been helped, the only way they know how to react to this mental health issue is anger. Of course, we have talked about mental health. Some might even be because of some physical ailments. They may have physical ailments and they feel this thing is stressing them, and because of that they are always angry. So it could be in form of physical disability. Okay, if a child stutters or is always stammering, the child could be an angry child. I know that in our society we believe people that stutters or stammers is natural for them to be angry. No, we can help them, and it's possible for them not to be angry all the time. So medical disorders can also make a child, if a child is always in and out of the hospital, the only reaction the child may choose to show is anger or aggression. Another thing that may cause a child to be angry all the time, an adolescent, is ADHD. This is a learning disorder that a lot of us around here, we don't believe there's any. Some people don't believe there's anything like that. They believe this thing that you people talk about. We've been alive since. What is ADHD? It's attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. You may choose to do a little bit more of research on this. This can also cause a child to always be angry, and adolescents to always be angry, because they have a lot of social and emotional difficulties. Another reason an adolescent can be angry is addiction and abuse. When they start taking things they should not take, they start abusing drugs or alcohol, it may lead to aggressive or angry behavior. What about peer pressure? Peer pressure can also make make a teenager or an adolescent to be constantly angry. See, we are not talking about being a one-off anger. We are talking about when a child is constantly angry, wakes up in the morning angry, picks from school angry, when the family is together angry. When it's like that, then it calls for concern. Everybody gets angry. I get angry, but it is not my, my lifestyle. When it gets to something that you are bothered about, this is the constant. Every time you talk, the child is angry. Then that is why we are looking at this. How can this adolescent be helped? How can this person be helped? And we have said peer pressure too. When somebody wants to be accepted, into a group of a set of children, either in school or anywhere, peer pressure can also make a child, it can cause pain and anger and make a child always be constantly angry. This is who the child is. This is who you brought up your child to be. But there's a group out there, they want the child to be like them. And, there's now a conflict with the child, conflict with emotion. Where should I go? I love my parents. I don't want to go out of the way. At the same time, I don't want to lose my friends. There's this fear that is common among adolescents. It's called FOMO, fear of missing out. They don't want to miss out with their friends. At the same time, they still want to be a good child to their parents. So it's all stress. It's stressing them and it's giving them conflicting mental issues. They don't know how to strike a balance, and if you have it like that, they may constantly be angry. And the last one, this is not the last one because there's still one I'll talk about. This I've mentioned earlier and I'm mentioning again: low self-esteem. When adolescents have low self-esteem, sometimes they try to cover this up with anger or aggressive behavior. Now, another thing that might cause continuous anger and aggressive behavior may be the pressure your child is facing at this point in time. Probably your child has exams to write, your child has some landmark things to achieve, so many targets, and the child is just used to it. Remember, between the ages of 10 and 19, they will be entering secondary school, you'll be having common entrance, you're having junior WAEC, you have senior WAEC, you have so many things. If they are doing sports, they may probably want to do a lot to just be able to be where their friends are. They have so much homework. As they leave school at 4, they still have a lot of homework to do. They have assignments, of course that's homework. They have notes to copy. Sometimes it's just too much for them to cope with, and then they are angry. They just don't know how best to lash out. They don't know, because probably when we get to the solution, we'll see how can we help them out of this angry mood. They have so much. That may just be it. It may not be mental health anything. It may not be peer pressure. It may just be the normal pressure they are under. School work is just so much. They get home, there's so much to do, and nobody seems to understand what they are going through. And because of this, they might be constantly angry. So what is the solution? How can we help our adolescents so that they will not always be angry? How can we help them? Of course, the first one is that as parents, as caregivers, we need to soft pedal. We need to soft pedal. If you are an angry parent, you were raised with anger, you need to sort yourself out. You need therapy yourself. You need to be a better person so that your response will not always be in anger. So if that is your issue, then you need help. See, we all need help at one point or the other. If you grew up in a home where there's a lot of competition, you always have to outdo yourself to the point that you have grown up with a lot of anger, with a lot of stress, you respond to almost everything in anger. Just know that your child is going to be like that too, because they watch you. So the first thing is that if you are a parent and you have issues with anger, you need to sort it out. You need to sort yourself out. You need to seek for help. You need to go for counseling. You need to go for therapy. You may need a therapist to talk to. Please excuse me. Okay, so how do you help your child? The first one is, if you respond in anger, you need to help yourself first so that you can help your child. The second thing is that your child might need individual counseling. You may be the one that will do that counseling, or you may get a professional to do the counseling. But most of the time, it may just be a teacher in church, a teacher in school, somebody you see that, some children, they are angry around you, but when they are with some people, when you just meet them with some people, they are laughing. But as soon as they see you, they are angry. So that person that you see that they easily warm up to, you may speak with the person that, please, I just want to know why this person is always angry. Please help me. So in that case, the person can be the one that will give the counseling, but just make sure that person is a responsible adult. Responsible adult to give the counseling. So the first step we said is, if you have the anger issue, take care of yourself before you can help your child. The second one is that your child might need counseling, and then maybe and if you think you are having issues, a trusted, a responsible adult might help even for this counseling before you start seeking for licensed and professional counselors. Of course, you may involve the whole family. You may You may just sit down together. They always call it intervention. And maybe during your time, family time, you ask, why are you angry? What's the problem? And the others too can say, yes, we always notice this, that you are angry. Please, how can we help out so that you are not always in this state? The reason why you have to look at it is because an angry child cannot achieve much. So that is why you cannot just ignore all the time and say, well, you get around it. I didn't kill my parents. No, an angry child will miss out a lot in good time. It's not even a good emotion to carry all around. We said one of the cause of anger could be mental health issues. And if you say that it's a mental health issue, that is, if you've seen that it's not the pressure of their schoolwork, it's not the pressure that is it's not normal, then you can do an evaluation. Please, this is not the time for you to say, I rebuke it, I reject it. Of course, we all don't want it, but you will not watch your child until the child gets to a point that you wish you had helped earlier. So that is why you have to take all these routes to help the child. You can also involve a professional, and if you evaluate, you see there is a mental health issue, then medication will come in place. Of course, they will give the right medication. Another thing is that that a child is angry does not make you less of a parent. You must still create boundaries. There must still be rules. Anger, it can be a behavior. If it's constant, then it turns to a behavior. Then it must be checked. You must be checked. And how can it be checked? You can use behavior contracts. If you keep getting, this is what there are consequences. Now we've tried to see, we have tried to help. What is it? The pressure of work? How can we lighten it? How can we make it better? But if you see that, it's a way of life, the child is not ready to even talk to anyone, is not medical, is nothing there. Even in parenting, you need behavioral contracts may come to place. You set up behavioral contracts with your teenager, which you don't force. They take responsibility for their actions. If you do this, this is the consequence. Then you list down positive behaviors that you expect and you reward it. And when there are negative behaviors, what do? There are consequences. You don't need to offer material things as reward. You don't need to offer material things as reward. There are other forms of reward that is not materialistic. Of course, you can take them out. You can help make sure they have, maybe you had 30 minutes to the gadget time. All those little things that will bring up a smile, you do it. And then you create time. Routine also helps. If a child is always scattered, the child will be angry sometimes. Homework you don't do. When they come, have you done your homework? This will help them. If they have a routine, it will help them they can sort one thing out and go to the other. Then, of course, I want to believe that you have rules that you keep in your homes. This is what is acceptable here. When you set rules for your adolescents, they don't need to like the rules. That's why you are a parent. Let them know this is what is acceptable and this is not what is acceptable. Another thing that you can help, how you can help your child overcome anger is allow them to rest properly. When adolescents don't rest, they don't sleep well, they don't eat well, they may show aggression and they may show anger all the time. So make sure they sleep well, make sure they eat well. That will also help. Don't ignore, please. Don't ignore signs when you see it. Don't ignore if it is persistent and is constant. Now, I always tell you that another thing that helps a child now is teaching the word of God. Making your child, we are gradually getting into the age where parents are involved with God and they leave their children behind. When the children of Israel were leaving Egypt, They said we need to take our children along. In fact, when Pharaoh was negotiating with them, he said, okay, go, leave your children behind. And they said, no, we are taking our children along. We are gradually getting to a point that some parents don't want their children to listen to the word of God. They said, go inside, no. You need to build them up spiritually. I want to believe that you preach salvation to your children and they know Christ. When they know Christ, then in fact your problem is like half solved, because you now have a manual that both of you believe in that can guide the child and can guide you. So what do? If your child, is not yet born again, is not saved, please continue. Don't relent, and don't be forceful. Prayerfully, pray for your child, pray for the salvation, and then guide with the word of God. Teach your children the word of God. Watch Christian movies together. That has really helped me. This has actually brought a lot of teachable moments. Go on YouTube. There are fantastic age-appropriate Christian movies for teenagers that they can watch. They will lighten up and you can talk about it. And let them know that by reading and studying the word of God, it helps them to come out of these emotions. When you talk about this anger with parents of teenagers, parents of adolescents, they will say, that's how my child is. Of course, sometimes it can also be hormonal. So many things happening at the same time that they don't understand. So that they will not be in that bracket, like, oh, they are like that, statistics. Your child can be different, and teach them the word of God. Let them participate in things that will grow them spiritually. Let them know that the word of God is what gives direction when there's peer pressure, when there are issues they cannot handle. Psalm 119, it says, your word is a lamp to guide my feet and a light to guide my path. Let them know the word of God. Don't keep them behind when you want to go to church. Say, well, you are a child, sit at home. No, let them learn the word of God. Let them participate even in their children's church. Let them do memory verses. They are keeping, is a bank. They are keeping the word of God. When they need it, that word will come alive inside of them. And you have to let them know that the word of God, if they hide the word of God in their heart, it helps them a lot. He says, thy word have I hid in my heart, that I may not sin against you. So teach your children the word of God. There was a time I used to give disciplinary measure of go and copy this word of God 100 times. Just go and write it 100 times. By the time you write it 100 times, you will not forget it. And why? You are even helping, even though it's strenuous. How can I be writing the same thing all over and over again? It's strenuous, but that word sets in there. It has gone into that bank of that reservoir of the word of God. When sin comes knocking, that word comes alive. They come alive too, and they can resist every form of temptation. And I want to say another thing as I'm rounding up is that create a godly environment for your child. If as parents you are always angry, you're always using abusive words, you are always, you are always angry on the phone with people. When you are driving, you are angry with co-users of the road. When you are in school, you are always angry. Don't expect less from your child. So you too create a godly environment where there's love and peace, where you apologize when you are wrong, where you sort out things instead of arguing with your spouse, where the two of you sort it out amicably so that they can learn that, oh, people can actually have an argument without fighting. All this will help them to know how to handle emotions that bring anger. Then at the end, show genuine concern so that they can share their primary emotions. When we started, we said anger can be a secondary emotion. It can be a reaction to something that they are constantly going through. Show genuine care and concern. Learn to listen. I've had a Facebook live where I just talked about listening as a skill. What does it mean when we say listen? Listen to what they are saying and what they are not saying. Pray with them. When they have a lot in their minds. They say this is too much for me, the school work is too much, this is too much. They just want you to listen and show understanding. Hold their hands, say, let me pray with you. Let them even see genuine concern. After praying, then you say, how do we do it? So that this pressure will not be so much on you. And don't use it back at them. You know, we parents, we do that a lot. We said, how come? Why will this not happen? Why will this not happen when you are always like this? You know, we do that a lot. So this is where we are going to be ending this Facebook Live for today. If you have questions, if you need help, or you need someone to talk with your teenager, it does not have to be face to face. It could be a phone conversation so that you can help them come out of anger. An angry teenager will not achieve a lot. An angry teenager may become a violent teenager, may be aggressive. And when that starts happening, that teenager is of no use to himself, to his family, and to the society at large. Remember, first and foremost, show genuine love and concern. Lead them in the path of righteousness. Always remember this. Train up a child in the way he should go, and when he's grown, he will not depart from it. Teach the word of God. Enjoy God together. Don't leave your children behind. God will help us. Have a wonderful evening. God bless you.